Paul Walker. He raced through life, but what he searched for wasn't speed, it was meaning. What if the strongest people are not the ones who speak the loudest? What if true strength speaks quietly, almost in a whisper? One day Paul was asked, "What are you most afraid of?" He smiled and replied, "I'm afraid to live life and never truly feel it." The world saw him as a hero on screen, Brian, the guy who always hits the gas. But those who stood beside him said something very different. He wasn't an actor, he was light. He never saw fame, he saw people. Today is not just a story. Today is an attempt to hear a man who lived every day as if it might be his last. He was in a hurry, but not for fame. He was searching for truth, in people, in pain, in hope. And if you're ready to accelerate to the speed of the heart, fasten your seatbelt. September 12th, 1973, Glendale, California. A boy was born. He simply opened his eyes, so wide as if he wanted to see this world before it could hear him. His mother, Cheryl, was a model, creative, open, filled with dreams. His father, a former boxer, William Walker. There were 5 children in the Walker household. The family lived modestly, but every evening at the dinner table was a ritual. Conversation, honesty, and the same question from his father. What did you do today to become better? Paul grew up inside those conversations. He learned early, a person is alive only as long as someone listens to them, and there is no greater loneliness than being drowned out by noise. His parents said, "You can become anyone as long as you remain human." At 8 years old, he started acting in commercials and small TV roles. Hollywood noticed his face, but not his soul. The camera loved him, but did it understand him? His mother always reminded him, "The camera shouldn't see your face, it should see your soul." Producers saw the perfect teenage product, not a personality, a package. But Paul felt like a stranger in this industry. He once said, "When the camera turns off, nobody asks how you are." And that's exactly what I care about. He wrote privately, "I feel like a director trapped in the body of an actor. They want me to be beautiful, but I want to speak." Sometimes, after a 12-hour shoot, he would escape to the ocean, just to listen to the waves. To understand what was louder, the noise outside or the voice inside. One day, he made a decision. If he stays in film, it must not be for fame, but for truth. Not to pose, but to feel. Not to act, but to listen. At 16, a turning point. At 16, Paul experienced something that makes a teenager grow up too early. His close friend died in a car accident on a quiet road at night, where speed met a 1-second mistake. Paul was one of the first to arrive at the scene, and for the first time he understood, a car is not only freedom, it is also responsibility. This event changed him forever. He grew quiet. He began studying mechanics, physics, the anatomy of cars. He often said, after that night, speed didn't look beautiful anymore. It became a lesson. That respect for the road, for life, would later be felt even on the set of Fast and Furious. He was cast in small shows, minor projects. People looked at him as merchandise. Blue eyes, perfect profile, trustworthy voice. But he often left set with a heavy feeling. The camera heard his appearance, but not his voice. He told friends, "Hollywood has everything except real conversation." After an audition, he wrote in his diary, "If being an actor means being a picture, then I'm not playing. I want to talk about what I see. I want to feel the people around me. Otherwise, why am I even here?" He started studying differently, not acting techniques, but people. He observed directors, lighting crew, drivers. Sometimes he came early just to talk to the security guard or janitors. He wanted to hear those whom nobody listens to. He said, "I don't want to play a hero. I want to find a human, in me, in others. And if I find one in the frame, then all of this is worth it." Hollywood knocks loudly. Early 2000s. Directors, agents, producers, they all said one thing: "You were born for the big screen. Your face is your ticket to the future." The film? Fast and Furious. The budget was big. The stakes were high. They needed a symbol of speed. But they didn't know one important detail. This boy, raised at a dinner table of honesty, never measured success in millions, only in people. They showed him the concept: racing, adrenaline, a loud finale. Paul read the script and asked, "Why does he race? What drives this man inside?" The producer replied sharply, "That doesn't matter. He just needs to look cool while driving." Silence. Paul looked up and said quietly, "Then you don't need me. I don't drive beautifully. I drive with purpose." The next day they told him, "We'll consider other candidates." They politely implied, "He thinks too much." 2 weeks later, they called again. The script had changed. It now included moral conflict, fear, choice. Brian O'Connor became more than a driver. He became human. Paul accepted the role and said, "Now this film has air. It has life." Papers, premieres, millions of fans. He became the face of the franchise. People copied his walk, wore his t-shirts, memorized his lines. But the night after the premiere, he was alone, in a Los Angeles hotel room. Just silence, and the city lights outside the window. He wrote in his diary, "I became popular, but did I become closer to people? Do I understand them even a little more?" That's the question that keeps me awake until 3 a.m. 2005, Honduras earthquake. He didn't wait for anyone to call. He gathered doctors, paramedics, engineers, and flew there himself. Not as a celebrity, not under cameras, but as a human being. There, among dust and ruins, he said the phrase with which his legend began: "If I have a voice, why am I not where people are silent from pain?" Thus began Reach Out Worldwide, not just a charity, but a team who arrived first, where others didn't even look. Hollywood said, "He can become the next franchise superhero. We just need to make him want fame." But no one could, because he wasn't chasing fame. He was chasing meaning. He was chasing people. And that's far harder than stepping on the gas. Real life begins when the red light on the camera turns off. The industry believes the main moment is when the camera rolls. Paul believed the opposite. 1998, a delivery room. Low light, silence. He looked at a small creature who couldn't speak, but was already breathing meaning. Meadow Walker. Not just a daughter, a starting point. The reason to rewrite his entire life's script. He would later admit, "The moment I held her, I knew I could no longer live just for myself." One quiet evening, the ocean turned copper in the sunset. Meadow looked at him and asked, "Dad, are you famous?" He hesitated. In her eyes, he didn't see fame. He saw a soul, and replied slowly, "If someone managed to smile beside me when things were hard, then it wasn't all for nothing. And right now, you're smiling. That's enough for me." He wasn't perfect. He left home often, missed celebrations, came back late. But every time he was with her, fully, silently, truly. They spent time by the ocean, in silence that spoke louder than any script. The wind blew softer when they arrived. Even the sand seemed gentler under their feet. Paul once asked, "Do you know the most important quality a person can have?" "Which one?" "To see people, not with the eyes, but with the heart." She stayed silent, then said, "I want to learn to see like that too." That day, Paul understood. He couldn't just act. He had to live. And from that moment, he changed. Fewer events, more calls to his daughter, fewer to his agent. Hollywood called it madness. His heart called it salvation. That's when he said the phrase that later felt prophetic. "I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid of living a life that leaves nothing alive after me." From fame to silence. He became a world star. Posters, interviews, millions. But inside, silence began. Once on set, he stood in the middle of the crowd and felt nothing. No joy, no thrill, just emptiness. He later said, "When you're in the spotlight and feel empty, that's the loudest signal life can send." He began speaking about time, its value, the fear of losing moments that matter. He wrote in his diary, "Many want recognition. I just want to feel alive. Sometimes the camera helps. Sometimes it gets in the way." Paul Walker and Vin Diesel, a friendship you can't script. When Paul became a father, he chose family over fame. On the set of Fast and Furious, he truly saw Vin Diesel, not as a co-star, but as a human. They met in 2000. Different energies. Vin, fire. Paul, ocean. But opposites became a bridge. They spoke not about scenes, but about time and what can't be brought back. Paul once told Vin, "Racing isn't about speed, it's about choice." Vin paused and said, "I thought Fast and Furious was about cars. You just showed me it's about people." They didn't compete, which is rare in Hollywood. Vin later said, "People fight for attention, but Paul always told me, don't fight for the spotlight. Find someone who needs it more." He became part of Vin's family, so much so that Vin asked Paul to be the godfather of his daughter. Later, he said, "I didn't lose a friend, I lost a brother." Years later, he visited Paul's mother, quietly, without press. He simply sat at the table, just like Paul once did at his own family dinners. And then he said publicly, "I named my daughter Paul, so I never forget what a real man should be." The final interview. A man saying goodbye without saying it. A year before his death, he changed. He dreamed of roads, always roads, never a finish line. He said, "I feel like life is rushing somewhere, faster than I can understand why." He almost stopped giving interviews. Too much noise, too little meaning. But weeks before his death, he agreed. He said, "I want to say what's inside, just once, and never explain again." The studio was unusually quiet. The operator said, "It felt like he didn't come to speak, but to finish a conversation." He sat down not as an actor, not as a star, but as a man who no longer wanted to seem, only to be. The interviewer asked, "What matters most to you now?" Paul didn't answer immediately. He looked past the camera as if choosing who the answer belonged to. Then said quietly, almost a whisper, "The machine is life, just endlessly cranking. Focus, it's right here. It's what's important. It's what's of the heart. It's family. It's friends. The rest? Pfft, nonsense." When he finished, no one applauded. The studio froze. They just looked at him, trying to understand why his words sounded like a revelation and a farewell. When the cameras turned off, he stayed seated, still, silent, staring into one spot. The journalist approached and asked, "What if the most important thing is still career?" Paul smiled, tired but sincere, and said, "Career is what people say about you, but the heart is what you feel when you are alone. And I want, when I'm alone, for there not to be emptiness." That was the last thing he ever said on record, because he wasn't talking about cinema, he was talking about life. Life is not a race to finish first. It's a walk, where the most important thing is to not walk alone. November 30th, 2013. California woke up calm. Too calm. No warning, no sign. Nothing that could have said the world would change forever. Paul arrived at a charity event for Reach Out Worldwide. Not as a star, not as a franchise figure, as a volunteer. He smiled, helped pack boxes, talked to children, spoke to strangers as if he had known them for years. One volunteer later said, "It felt like he was trying to do as much as possible, not because he was going somewhere, but because something was coming." His friend offered a ride. Roger Rodas, a red Porsche Carrera GT. Paul agreed instantly, as if the decision had already been made inside him. They sat in the car. The door shut, and according to a witness, suddenly his face went serious. Not fearful, not lost, but focused. Like someone trying to remember something before time runs out. 13:37. The car leaves the lot. 13:38. It gains speed. 13:39. Something happens that can never be undone. A turn, a loss of control, impact, flames, silence.